Hi, my name's Sara Marks. I'm the author of the 21st Century Austen series, an anthology series of modernized Jane Austen books. Specifically, in this case, the author of Phi Alpha Pi, a modernization of Pride and Prejudice. When I was writing Phi Alpha Pi, it made a lot of sense, because it takes place at a university, to create the presentations that were discussed in the book while I was writing it. This way I could look at the slides and decide what the speaker would say in the book, if anything. I realized as I was thinking about the short stories I might want to write to go with this book, that the presentations might be fun for readers to enjoy. So this is one of the two. Here's a setup. Lizbeth, Jane, and Caroline are doing a group presentation for their French class. Since all three will be going with the French majors on a trip to Paris for spring break, they create their own tour of the Marais neighborhood. Not only do they present the slideshow in class, but they will lead the tour in Paris. Well, Jane and Lizbeth will lead the tour in Paris. Caroline's Caroline. This tour is based on one I did with my best friend Emily in 2009 when we spent 2 days in the city. All the pictures in the slideshow are ones I took as we walked around the district, and the original tour was designed by Formers, who still has a 3-part walking tour of Paris on their webpage, and you can see the video notes for the links to their current versions. The tours have changed since 2009. A number of things have closed since then, so I tried to use the original tour thanks to the Wayback Machine, but Emily and I had made a few decisions of our own about places we wanted to see on the route, so it's slightly varied. But this is what the women would have designed in 2016 to 17 when the book takes place. Our tour begins with the French Revolution and what remains of the Bastille. The Place de la Bastille is all that remains of the Bastille prison. On July 14, 1789, a mob attacked the prison, starting the French Revolution. It was infamous for those who were imprisoned there, like the man in the iron mask, the Marquis de Sade, who had actually just arrived 10 days before the mob attacked, and it was famous for its terrible conditions. It stood for over 400 years, but now nothing remains but the traffic circle and the Colonne de Juillet. The Colonne is there to honor the victims of the July Revolution in 1830, not the storming of the Bastille in 1789. You probably know of Beaumarchais works more than you know him. As children, many of us probably watched the Warner Brother cartoon shorts that included The Barber of Seville and The Marriage of Figaro. Tom and Jerry singing songs from Figaro still exists on YouTube if you want to find them. Beaumarchais didn't write the operas, but he was the playwright for those plays that would become the operas. Rossini and Mozart are the ones who set the music we remember. The Place des Vosges is Paris's oldest square. The buildings were constructed according to a strict plan. The height of the facade is equal to their width, and the height of the triangular roofs is half the height of the facades. In 1559, Henry II, the king, was killed here while jousting. After the Revolution, it was named for the region of France where Jeanne d'Arc was born, because they were the first to pay their taxes to Napoleon. Its most famous resident is Victor Hugo, and his home, Maison de Victor Hugo, is a shrine to the man. What's your favorite work by Hugo? Did you know that The Hunchback of Notre Dame has changed so many times with each adaptation that it's almost like the Hitchhiker's Galaxy of 19th century France? Musée Picasso is dedicated to the works of the famous painter. And I'm sure you're asking yourself, why would a Spanish painter get a museum in Paris? Well, in 1968, the French people were allowed to pay inheritance taxes with works of art if the work of art was part of France's cultural heritage. Turns out, his second wife was French, and when she died, her family paid their taxes with his art. Musée de l'Histoire de France is the National Archives of France and contains historical documents and artifacts from the country's history. The thing that struck me about the door of this building, and I think the thing that drew me there to begin with, was the shade of blue that is very TARDIS-like. I kind of wondered if somehow the Doctor had influenced French history. But this also contains items from a now closed History of France museum that was in Marais as well. Musée d'Histoire du Judaisme can be found in Marais and is dedicated to the history of Judaism in Europe and North Africa all the way up to the 20th century. The specific statue in the courtyard is of Captain Dreyfus, maybe Elizabeth's relation, and the museum has a significant collection both in the museum and online related to the Dreyfus affair. It's not far from the Pletzel, the Jewish quarter, which is full of patisseries, kosher restaurants, bookstores, synagogues, and is a great place to get a sense of French Judaism. And the last stop on our tour is Centre Pompidou. It's an iconic mixed-use building that was only built in the 1970s. Not only does it host a famous modern art museum, but a library and a research center for music and acoustic research. And that's it. That's what Lizbeth, Jane, and Caroline would have presented and taken their classmates on tour-wise in Phi Alpha Pi. Feel free to leave comments and click subscribe and click on the bell for the reminders to get notified when more content about Phi Alpha Pi, other 21st Century Austen books, other books, and even other projects I do that get posted to YouTube. You'll probably see an increase over the next few months, and it'll be nice to have some people enjoy them and to hear from people who enjoy them. So thanks!